Do your legs feel heavy by the end of the day? Do your feet tingle, go numb, or feel cold even when the room is warm? Do you notice swelling around your ankles that wasn't there a few years ago? Most people dismiss these things. They blame long hours of sitting, they blame age, they blame tiredness, and they move on. But what if those sensations are not just discomfort? What if they are your body sending you a signal quietly, persistently, in the only language it knows, telling you that something deeper is happening inside your blood vessels right now, something that will not fix itself, and something that gets significantly worse the longer it is ignored? Today, that signal finally gets answered. Poor circulation in the legs and feet is not a minor inconvenience. It is not something you manage with compression socks and hope for the best. It is a window into the health of your entire vascular system, and what is happening in your legs is almost certainly a reflection of what is happening in your heart, your kidneys, your brain, and every other organ that depends on blood flow to survive and function. The medical term is peripheral artery disease in its more advanced form, but long before it reaches that stage, it exists as something quieter, something millions of people are walking around with right now, without a diagnosis, without a name for it, and without any idea how serious the trajectory can become. The good news, and there is genuinely powerful good news here, is that your vascular system is not fixed. It responds, it adapts, and it responds more dramatically to food than most people have ever been told. There are 4 specific foods that target poor circulation in the legs and feet through mechanisms that are so precise, so biologically direct, that understanding them changes the way you think about every meal. And before we get to all 4, I need to tell you something about the last food on this list, because it is the one that almost no one associates with vascular health, the one that sits in millions of homes completely unrecognized for what it is actually doing inside your blood vessels. Most people drink it every day and have no idea it is one of the most studied vascular protective substances in nutritional science. We will get there. But first, you need to understand what is actually happening inside your legs, because without that understanding, the food just sounds like advice. With it, it sounds like biology. And biology, once you understand it, is impossible to ignore. Your legs and feet are the furthest points from your heart in your entire circulatory system. Blood has to travel the greatest distance to reach them, fight against gravity to return, and pass through progressively smaller and smaller vessels to deliver oxygen and nutrients to the tissue at your extremities. This system works beautifully when the vessels are healthy, elastic, clear, and responsive. But when inflammation builds in the vessel walls, when plaque accumulates, when the blood becomes more viscous and prone to clotting, when the smooth muscle surrounding your arteries loses its ability to relax and dilate on demand, the flow of blood to your legs becomes compromised. The tissue starts receiving less oxygen. Nerves begin signaling distress. The heaviness, the tingling, the coldness, the cramping, these are not random. They are the predictable biological consequences of vessels that are struggling, and they will keep getting worse unless something changes at the source. Let's begin with beans. And I want you to understand immediately that this is not generic healthy eating advice. This is targeted vascular biology. Beans, specifically black beans, kidney beans, chickpeas, and navy beans, are among the richest dietary sources of something called resistant starch and soluble fiber, and their effect on circulation works through a pathway most people never expect: the gut. Inside your digestive system, the fiber in beans is fermented by your gut bacteria into short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate and propionate. These compounds enter your bloodstream and do something remarkable. They reduce systemic inflammation throughout your vascular system, including in the walls of the arteries supplying your legs and feet. Inflammation in arterial walls is one of the primary reasons those walls become stiff, narrow, and less responsive to the signals that should be telling them to open and allow blood through. Beans fight that process directly through the gut vascular axis, a connection between your digestive microbiome and your circulatory system that research is only beginning to fully map. Beans are also rich in magnesium and potassium, both of which are essential for the relaxation of vascular smooth muscle. When that muscle relaxes, vessels dilate, resistance drops, and blood flows more freely to the extremities. People who eat legumes regularly have measurably better vascular health outcomes across multiple large population studies. This is not coincidence, this is mechanism. The second food is carrots, and the science here runs through a pigment called beta-carotene, which your body converts into vitamin A, and through a family of compounds called carotenoids that have a specific and documented effect on the endothelium, the thin inner lining of every blood vessel in your body. The endothelium is not just a passive tube. It is an active, metabolically complex tissue that regulates blood vessel tone, controls inflammation, manages clotting, and produces nitric oxide, the molecule responsible for telling vessels to relax and open. When the endothelium is damaged or dysfunctional, which happens through oxidative stress, poor diet, and chronic inflammation, the entire downstream process breaks down. Nitric oxide production drops, vessels become less responsive, blood flow to the legs and feet diminishes. Carotenoids in carrots act as potent antioxidants that protect endothelial cells from oxidative damage, essentially shielding the very cells responsible for keeping your blood vessels open and functional. Studies have shown that higher dietary carotenoid intake is associated with significantly better endothelial function and lower rates of peripheral vascular disease. Carrots are also rich in falcarinol, a natural compound with anti-inflammatory properties that works synergistically with the carotenoids to further protect vessel walls. Eating carrots is not eating rabbit food. It is delivering targeted antioxidant protection to the cellular lining of every single blood vessel in your legs. Now here is what I need you to hold on to, because this is where it gets fascinating, and we will return to it before the end. The third and fourth foods on this list work through completely different mechanisms than the first two, and when you understand how they interact with your vascular system, you will realize that poor circulation is not a single problem with a single solution. It is a layered biological condition that requires a layered response. And the fourth food, the one almost nobody connects to leg and foot circulation, works through a mechanism so specific and so surprising that researchers themselves were caught off guard when the data first came in. Keep watching, because this is where the real science begins. The third food is garlic, and if you have ever wondered why garlic has appeared in medicinal traditions across virtually every culture in human history, the answer is now clear at the molecular level. Garlic contains a compound called allicin, which is produced when garlic is crushed or chopped and the enzyme alliinase comes into contact with alliin. Allicin is one of the most potent natural vasodilators identified in nutritional science. It directly stimulates the production of nitric oxide and hydrogen sulfide in the blood vessel walls, both of which cause smooth muscle in the arterial walls to relax, allowing the vessel to widen and blood to flow through with significantly less resistance. For people with compromised circulation in their legs and feet, this effect is not subtle. Studies using garlic supplementation in patients with peripheral arterial disease have shown measurable improvements in walking distance before the onset of pain, a clinical marker known as claudication distance, which is one of the primary ways doctors assess how severely circulation is compromised in the lower limbs. Garlic also reduces platelet aggregation, which is the tendency of blood cells to clump together and form clots that further restrict flow through already narrowed vessels. It thins the blood in a gentle, natural way that improves its ability to move through constricted passages. Raw garlic or lightly cooked garlic retains the most allicin. Heavily processed or long-cooked garlic loses much of this activity. The way you prepare it matters as much as whether you eat it at all. And now the fourth food, black tea. Not green tea, not herbal tea, specifically black tea. And the reason it is on this list is something that the research community did not fully anticipate when the studies began. Black tea is rich in a class of compounds called theaflavins and thearubicins, which are formed during the oxidation process that turns green tea into black tea. These compounds have a very specific effect on a protein called endothelin-1. Endothelin-1 is one of the most powerful vasoconstrictors in the human body, meaning it is one of the primary signals that causes blood vessels to tighten and narrow. In people with poor circulation, endothelin-1 activity is often elevated, contributing directly to the reduced blood flow reaching the legs and feet. Black tea compounds actively suppress endothelin-1 production, allowing blood vessels to remain more open and more responsive. Multiple clinical studies have found that regular black tea consumption improves flow-mediated dilation, which is the medical measure of how well an artery can expand in response to increased blood demand. 2 to 3 cups of black tea daily has been shown to produce measurable improvements in vascular function within weeks. The thing that millions of people drink every morning out of habit, without knowing, without intending, is quietly working on the very system that determines whether their legs feel heavy and painful or light and alive. Beans, carrots, garlic, and black tea. 4 foods, 4 completely different biological mechanisms, all converging on the same outcome: better blood flow, healthier vessel walls, more oxygen reaching the tissue in your legs and feet, and a vascular system that is moving in the right direction instead of quietly deteriorating in the dark. The damage that poor circulation causes is not immediate and dramatic. It is slow and cumulative, but so is the healing, and the healing can start at your very next meal. So tell me in the comments, because I genuinely want to know, when you feel that heaviness in your legs or that tingling in your feet, what have you been doing about it? Have you been ignoring it, or have you been looking for answers? And of these 4 foods, which one surprised you the most? Drop it below. Your answer might help someone else in this community who is dealing with the exact same thing and hasn't said a word about it yet.